inspire action. Here is your host, Mr. Will Turbot.
Hello and welcome everybody to another worldwide broadcast of Demand the Truth here on Renegade Radio 990WBOB.com. We're here live as we are always every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm always joined alongside Kevin LaPrade, my co-host, my man behind the scenes as well. You just finished up listening to Psycho Sports too. Make sure you check those guys out in the past cast. And always make sure, like I've said many times before here, we've had whole episodes about fake news and how to differentiate and what is really mainstream or corporately controlled. Actually, corporately controlled is probably a bad word because WBOB itself, you know what I'm saying? Anything is a corporation. Corporations aren't necessarily a bad thing. But if you want to hear news that's not controlled by the mainstream, go to 990WBOB.com and they have tons of new articles, videos from politics, news, sports, entertainment. Everything is on there. And it's not run by George Soros or David Rockefeller or people like the guy that founded CBS, who was, the guy that founded CBS, he formerly was the head of the psychological warfare department at the Army. So if you want to get something from another slant besides that, I would definitely suggest checking that out. But Kev, how's it going with you, man? What's going on this week?
What is up, Willie T? I am doing really good today. Thanks, bro, for asking.
Yeah, man, we're living in an increasingly crazy world. We got a lot of stuff going on. One of the people that I'm very excited, we have Adam Kokesh returning to our show today, and I'm very excited about that. And the thing I respect about Adam Kokesh is that he hasn't changed his message of liberty. If anything, he's refined it, and it's gotten better over time. And I don't want to, this is an insane thing to do, but people like himself that remain principled and stay true to the message is what's going to happen. I mean, now that we've seen Trump become the president, you've seen some people saying, oh, well, Trump's okay because he's taking on the New World Order and he's taking down the TPP like that and all this other stuff. But, he's done a lot of really, really terrible stuff on the other hand of things. So it's really split the liberty movement. It's taken people that were true libertarians and anarcho-capitalists and then there's become the alt-right and stuff like that. So there's a major split. But people like Ron Paul, people like Adam Kokesh that stay true to the liberty message is very important. We're going to get into what that message is, too. One of the things I wanted to cover today, too, briefly, is another one of those figures that's also, even within the truth community, and I really don't even like that term, but is somebody that's rather well respected in certain circles anyways, Elon Musk. And he came out today, there's an article today saying, man must merge with robots and artificial intelligence or else. So, stuff that we were talking about, years ago in science fiction is actually happening right now. We're on the cusp of things going on right now. And it's not just Elon Musk. There's been other people, too. The head of Google technology also says that in his lifetime, and this is an older dude than me, that we're going to merge with artificial intelligence and robotics and nanotechnology. And, that might be something that may actually benefit humanity. Who am I to say? However, the problem with this is people like Kev and I and people like you guys listening to the show and the people that are just out there on the streets, we're not involved in this discussion. When geoengineering occurs above our skies, we're not involved in that discussion. And what's happening is, ideally, under a republic, the people, the citizens, are supposed to be involved and interact and make those decisions. And when we get Kokesh on the show in a few minutes, we're going to talk about how government itself, and now this is something that I've personally been flirting with over the last couple months or so, and I saw during my research for the show, I've also read Adam's book, which is called Freedom, and it's available.
Great book.
It's an amazing book, and the great thing about that book is it's easy to digest for somebody that may not even be into politics at all. He takes fairly interesting and complex ideas and ideologies, and he really breaks it down to where anybody can understand. And
so basically for not that smart guy like me, a guy that's not that smart, it was a great book. It was a great read. It was a fast read. I loved it, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. It's a free book.
It's a free book, and he gives it away for free. And that's why I love and admire his spirit, because he's doing this because he really cares. He's not he's just a regular dude, just like any of us out here trying to change the paradigm in this world. He's just a regular guy. He's giving away this book for free. So I'd also say to support him and look him up online, check him out on Twitter, support him, donate to him,
or actually support him, buy like 50 books, at a small rate, a low rate, give him some money, some profits to help, that helps the cause as well.
You're exactly right. People that put their neck on the line and people that, do things as opposed to, just, slave away for a corporation or, maybe they're doing something even worse with their time. Even in this guy's free time, he's out there and other people are out there too. Those are the people that I admire. It's not because they may be, smarter or anything like that. It's because, you could be, and like the theme of the show here is you don't necessarily have to be somebody out there that's yelling and screaming into a megaphone or even putting yourself online getting arrested. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you make memes. Maybe you set up some avant-garde form of protest in a very artistic way, and you don't have to be there. You can have a whole bunch of people with handkerchiefs and cardboard cutouts or anything that you want. I mean, I'm not the creative one. All I do is sit here and I see example after example after example, and that's what the beginning of the show has been about. Just take a look at the first 2 episodes on our Passcast, 990.com/Passcast, I mean the truth, 990wbob.com, and look at our Passcast, and we sit there and we document all this stuff that's going on, and we're here just trying to make people stand up and take action, make a change. So we're going to talk about a lot of things, and I believe he's on the line. Adam, you there with me, bro?
Yes, I am. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. You're speaking to Will. Welcome back to the show. I'm also here with Kev.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's got me in kind of an interesting situation today. One of the joys of homesteading, when you look down 3 miles of dirt road, is that when it rains, we get stuck.
Yeah.
We were headed back here home from Las Vegas last night after doing some man on the street videos, and got stuck here at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, something like that, in the mud, and ended up staying in our vehicle and trying to get it out today. We got it unstuck and restuck twice.
Oh,
we
man.
finally got it unstuck and ready to pull our little junk trailer out of here. And then the vehicle that we had coming to get us in the morning was stuck. Now we're trying to get that unstuck. We're trying to get that unstuck. The unstucking truck with the chains on it dug itself a big hole, and right now we're jacking it up in order to put rocks under the tires. So just another day in the life of my adventure. But man, it's been an interesting day.
Thanks for coming on, bro.
Yeah, and you know what? That's part of it, what it is. You have to live your freedom. You have to live your liberty. You're putting in the mechanics of making it work. And, you've been on a show briefly before, and like I told you when you came on last time, our audience is a mixed bag. So there are some people here that know almost everything that you're saying, and there's some people that have no idea. So my job, and I think your job too, is to address those people for the most part. So, anybody that doesn't know, Adam is a veteran. He's an activist. He's also had TV shows. He's all over YouTube. Make sure you check him out on that. Make sure you check out his book, Freedom. And this guy, he's been, and this is the thing that gives me the sense of urgency that we have to do something. And I'm going to ask Adam what that is. This guy has been arrested for doing things that you think you would get arrested for doing in North Korea. So he was arrested at the Jefferson Memorial for dancing. Thomas Jefferson, one of the biggest proponents of free speech and free expression, he was arrested for dancing there. And then he got on the national radar, and then he started using his voice to really make a change and make a difference. But I have to ask you quickly, what song were you dancing to in that video when the cops picked you up and slammed you and choked you for dancing? What song were you listening to at that time?
You Can Do It. Nice.
All right.
Back into it. Put your rear into it. Yeah, it was very motivational music, and if you watch that video, you know that nothing I was doing qualified.
Yeah, I'm surprised they arrested you for dancing. None of that was what I consider dancing at all. But so talk about. I want you to introduce yourself to our audience. Tell me what made you change from somebody that went out there and volunteered to someone now who says, I don't think government should exist at all. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I was raised by a mother who was vaguely liberal and a father who was vaguely conservative, but they're both very much anti-authoritarian. music on the radio or oldies. It was always oldies for sure, So now you put on any classic rock or oldies like mainstream radio station, all know the words to over 90% of the song. And that music, that basic background had, really gave me a certain spirit of rebelliousness that really defined me. And it wasn't enough though because it wasn't conscientious. There wasn't like a deliberate philosophy or comprehensive worldview behind that. So it wasn't really enough to overcome the general government propaganda that leads a young man to enlist in the Marine Corps. In fact, I recently, even now, 10 years since I've been out of the military altogether, had a realization that it was really driven by insecurity. Like, hey, if you put your life on the line to your country, when you come home, we're going to blow a bunch of smoke up your butt and girls are going to love you. And it was like, oh, well, heck, yeah, I'll sign me up for that. And it's really funny that they say that it's kind of like taking charge of your life and joining the military, but of course it's the opposite. It's giving charge of your life to the bankers, politicians, war profiteers, to their lobbyists, to the strings of the government who are volunteering to fight and die for politicians, for Halliburton, for KBR, for all the
ExxonMobil.
Yeah, ExxonMobil, absolutely, all the oil and gas companies.
Drug runners.
I wish I could say that I was my drug runners in the CIA, right?
Exactly.
And the State Department. But yeah, the realization for me, I'm really slow. Marine, muscle not required, intelligence not essential. I think that's what Marine stands for, or my arse, rise, and movie equipment. One of those.
Really?
You suckers this Christmas, USMC. You suck my. I'll just leave that one off.
Wow.
Like yeah, like all of that stuff. We're not. I think it took me 10 years to go from I'm a libertarian because I don't want to be a Republican or Democrat. That was my experience in high school. To 10 years later, going, holy crap, the institution of government is unethical. And it started for me. I volunteered to go back to Iraq after doing 7 months in Fallujah. I actually really enjoyed it. I was a sergeant with civil affairs experience, so Arabic, was ready to go back, and I got in trouble for bringing a pistol back the first time. And I actually told my commanding officer, the colonel of my civil affairs, yeah, I did it, but you're never going to be able to prove it, blah blah blah. But hey, I'm ready to go to Iraq. Let me serve. Let me do this. And the good thing is, the reason I wanted to go back was because I didn't get a Purple Heart the first time. It really flipped a sick switch in someone's mind when that becomes the objective. Patton said that the objective of war is not dying for your country, thinking the other poor bastard died for his. Well, they also imbue you with this sort of sense of warped cult-like commitment that it's not enough if you don't die for your country. And that was why I volunteered to go back to Iraq, but I got in trouble, so I ended up managing a barrack in Lebanon Lawn. And I was just disgruntled enough when I got out to really start questioning things. And I moved to D.C. to get a master's in political management at George Washington University. And I found the website, Iraq Veterans Against the War. And I was like, well, heck, that's me, sign me up. And that really was my deliberate conscience.
All right. Well, let's leave it right there to the other side of the break. We're going to come back and we're going to have a longer segment after that. So thank you. You're listening to 990WBOV.com. Demand the Truth with Adam Kokesh. I'm your host, Will Turbot, alongside Kevin LaPrade. We'll be right back. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes with Adam Kokesh. Thanks for listening.
Ow! Why? Why am I so stupid? Why?
990WBOV.com. Now your source for up-to-the-minute weather information. You can check out the current conditions, the local long-term forecast, active watches, warnings, and advisories, the local radar, also inter-school closings, delays, and cancellation notices. For local travel, you can check out the Rhode Island Department of Transportation's traffic page. Check out national forecasts of major U.S. cities for all your traveling needs. There are also links to the National Weather Service and NOAA. 990WBOV.com's weather page is now your home for up-to-the-minute local weather information.
I'm not saying I made it better.
Today, I went back in time. I went to the shelter. I tasted some crafty brews, but that wasn't the best part. Vintage video games, late 80s, early 90s, really made me stay. But the reason I'm going back is, I couldn't believe it. The Shelter Arcade Bar has food, and it's delicious. They have everything from specialty pieces like the Angry Bird, topped with buffalo chicken, bacon, and banana peppers, to the Italian plumber with tomato sauce, mushrooms, green and red peppers. Oh, my mouth is watering thinking about it. They also have apps, snacks, and all sorts of good stuff. Located in Olneyville at 111 Dyke Street, Dyke Street, in Providence, I will definitely be visiting the Shelter Arcade again. They're over here from 990WVOB.com's a franchise. I'll let you know, a little secret. You see, for years now, whenever I'm shopping for a ride, I always visit my boys over at King Philip Motors. Conveniently located at 391 Metacom Ave in beautiful Kansas store, Bristol, Rhode Island. King Philip Motors is a wide gently used cars and trucks. Check them out online at KingPhilipMotors.com. Or give my friend John a buzz, 401-323-7853. Mention 990WPOB.com sent you. Enjoy the savings. That's King Philip Motors in Bristol, Rhode Island, or online at
What's up, Justin? What's up, Lauren?
Give a listen to the Rotunda on 990WBOB.com. Yeah, you pulled pretty well. I would have to agree. Yeah, I'll buy him a drink at the Loser Circle. You'll find information here that you just don't get anywhere else. We go on record with you saying that, sir. I'm Scott Rotunda, and I deliver my own unique style of shoot from the lip, anger from both sides of the aisle analysis that will keep you coming back for more. How is this guy? I don't even know who this guy is. Name one stat that I have made up. We're in the imaginary universe. The action is only heard here, live and on demand on 990WBOB.com.
It's right in live.
You're listening to 990WBOB.com. Renegade Radio.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Demand the Truth. I'm your host, Will Turbot, alongside Kevin LaPrade, as always. We're going to get right back to our guest, Adam Kokesh. Before we do that, I want to let everybody know, I want everybody to pay attention to this here. Join us February 23rd for the WBOB, 990 WBOB Influencer Charity Cocktail Gala at Cucina Rustica in Cranston. And this is in Rhode Island, as we'll be celebrating the movers and shakers in your community with the night of craft collectibles from the area. All the benefits in need go to animals in need, in our community throughout the great works of the Potter League. So check out the Potter League, and if you guys want more information on that, check out the Charity Gala page on 990WBOB and mark it on your calendar. It's February 23rd. Join us. It's going to be at Cucina Rustica at 555 Atwood Ave in Cranston, and there's going to be a lot of influential people there. There's going to be local politicians, like I said, the influencers. Check that whole website out as well, and then there's also going to be the BOB personalities there as well too. So check everybody, including myself and Kev will be there too. So check all that out. And right before the break, we were talking to Adam Kokesh, and he was describing about how, he was kind of always grew up had a rebellious neighbor, was libertarian because he didn't want to be mainstream Republican, went to the war in Iraq, volunteered to go back because he wanted to get a Purple Heart. And then when he came home, he found out about Iraq veterans against the war. And I was asking him, how did he make the change from where he is to where he is now? So we're about halfway through. So Adam, if you could pick up where you left off. You there with me, bro? All right, hold on one sec. We're going to make sure we still got Adam on the line with us. But what he's really talking about here is, if it's something that if you look at his videos or you read his book, if you check out any of Adam's Man on the Street videos, what he does is he'll just ask somebody, whether they're Democrat or Republican, who did you vote for? Why? What do you think about the government? And what he does is he deconstructs through a series of questions things that we assume to be true, and some things that we assume to be true are entirely false. And what ends up happening is these assumptions that we hold to be true already in our life because we've been programmed to do over and over again by the robber barons who have taken over our education system. And so he's going to expose some of those. So, Adam, you back with us, dude?
Yeah, sorry about that. I took a until we got it, but I must have by accident.
All right, yeah, continue where you left off with the Veterans Against the Iraq War.
Yeah, so I joined IAW, and like I said, that was the start of the truly conscientious, deliberate breaking point for me, where I realized that my wife was not I'm really, excited about this and think that I've made it 10 years as a full-time activist, one in one capacity or another. But it started with Operation First Casualty. We did mock combat patrol around Washington, D.C. to bring the truth of the war home, the nature of the occupation, because truth is the first casualty of war. And it was a really powerful experience. I got in trouble with the Marines for protesting in uniform, which is, it was really a BS charge. We had a little kangaroo court hearing. And I wasn't even on active duty. I was not even on active reserve. I was individual ready reserve. So it was really interesting, legally unprecedented case. The first thing that made me a national figure, because it was a pretty big national news story at the time. We really milked it, and, played it out for a whole week. Took a caravan to Kansas City from Washington D.C. And that was more importantly the start, like I said, of my intellectual break. And the bottom of the rabbit hole. I mean, if there is such a thing, remember that the only time you're on is if you think you're at the bottom of the rabbit hole. But the truth, there is no bottom. It keeps going. You keep learning and getting deeper and deeper every day of your life as you're learning. But there's a kind of bottom of the rabbit hole of understanding of the nature of government. Government is force, government is violence. You realize that it is fundamentally unethical. It is holding humanity back. And we should be looking for how to phase it out in a responsible manner as quickly as possible. We can end war for all time. We can end the police state. We can end the rip-off of taxation, the monopoly of government services, and even in all the legitimate services they provide. So I came out. I've been arrested now 36 times for civil disobedience. I had a radio show, a TV show, podcast, YouTube channel now, over 50 million views. And it's been an awesome 10 years of being able to commit myself to the cause of righteousness one way or another.
And Adam, you're a great example. You're a great example of how just an ordinary person. Last time I checked, you weren't in any super soldier program. You don't have any alien genetics. You're just a regular guy that dedicated yourself to this, and now you've had a great deal of fruition. So I hope this inspires some of our listeners here, and that's what our show is about. We've shown in many cases how ordinary people can actually literally affect and change the world. And now that you guys know a little bit about Adam, we're going to go to a quick break. We got a couple long segments after that. Now we're going to ask him, what is anarchy? What is capitalism? What is voluntarism? What is minarchy? And he's going to define all of that for us on the other side of the break. You need to know this stuff. So stay tuned. This is our future. We'll be right back on Demand the Truth alongside Kevin LaPrade.
Its doors to new female applicants. The first woman is now in space.
The majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women. We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at GoRedForWomen.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women.
Why spend your free time searching multiple sites for the best travel deals when you can get the lowest prices on flights, hotels, even rental cars, all on one site? At DelicateTravel.com, it's super easy to book your next trip. Travel with convenience. Choose from thousands of hotels around the globe. At DelicateTravel.com, pick the airline and flight to depart when you want. We have the easiest possible booking system. Get the best deals wherever you go. At DelicateTravel.com. Book your dream holiday right now on one site. DelicateTravel.com. Hey you, Joe Rhode Islander, looking for a night out? Look no further than Shelter Arcade Ball in Olivia. That's right, Olivia. 111 Dyke Street, in fact. You can go down there and sit with craft brews while taking
Good one, everybody. Regina. What's up, Jay? What's up, Trent? Hi, Alana. What's up, Laura? I don't know who's still watching. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Michelle. And Matt.
You name it. It's apps, it's snacks, they get it all. The Shelter Arcade Ball. Place to eat and have a good time.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Follow the Twitter at Shelter Arcade Ball. Get hours of operation in there.
Hey, Bobby.
Yeah. syphilis when he died? I did not know that. No, I know that. I heard you gave it to him. Hey, Derek Cummings, 990 Mondays at 9 p.m.
990 WBAB.com.
All right, we are back from break. Demand the Truth here. Will Turbin alongside Kevin LaProud. We're interviewing Adam Kokesh. And before we continue, I also want to say happy birthday to Adam and Kevin. You guys, Kevin's birthday was yesterday, and Adam, your birthday was the other day as well, right?
Yeah, about a week ago.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so happy birthday to you guys. Keep up the good fight.
Yeah, happy birthday, bro. Thanks.
And yeah, so we've crossed the threshold now. So start defining these things. What is capitalism? What is anarchy?
Well,
Okay.
we do that right around the definition, but I want to see that backstory on this.
Sure.
A lot of my activism today is motivated by a sense of penance. And I don't know if that really works for everybody, but I think everybody, before they really wake up to this, is something to contribute to statism, to the violence of the world, to government. And not necessarily deliberately or conscientiously in any sense, but even just being an obedient wage slave taxpayer is contributing to the system. And if at the very least you could orient your life in a way to minimize your contribution to the state. But in my case, when I was in Toulouse in 2004, I tortured people. I participated in deprivation torture and guarding detainees. It wasn't even really part of my job in civil affairs. It was just something that we were asked to do as a side duty every now and then. And one night in particular, during the siege of Fallujah in 2004, there were two young men who had been captured. I spent the night, a good part of it in my shift anyway, using my Arabic skills to taunt them and keep them awake. And that was the kind of thing you really never. I'd like to say that I should give myself, but you really can't ever live something like that down. So,
Yeah, sorry you had to do that. Sorry you had to do that. So sorry you had to do that, brother.
Don't apologize to me. If you want, if you feel for that, then help me. In my pen, help me make sure that no one else ever ends up in that situation again. Make sure that we're able to evolve past this paradigm of statism, which is the opposite of capitalism. So if I may, I'll just jump right in here. Capitalism is an economic system based on ownership of the means of production. Simple as that. The problem with the way we understand this word is that we misunderstand what is the ultimate means of production. It's not a factory, and it's not a tool. It's the individual human mind. And the ultimate measure of productivity is not dollars or widgets or any kind of bottom line. It's individual human happiness. And as long as the government exists, if you have a society that there is a government, which is a territorial monopoly on the initiation of force, that they can do violence against peaceful people in a way that individuals in that area do not have a right to do, and you do not have capitalism because the self-ownership of people is not respected as long as they are being governed and their right and rights as individuals, their individual will is being stifled by force or coercion in any way whatsoever.
All right, so that's a very important for people to know because most people today think that capitalism is the end-all, be-all of all the problems, and it's really not. So can you explain why capitalism isn't the problem, actually possibly part of the solution?
Well, it's really sad that we have come to this point where the powers that be have been able to associate what we have today as capitalism with what we have as corporatism, where corporations have special economic privileges, and government has special economic privileges, or as Mussolini would define fascism, the merging of the corporation and the state. So it's really sad because what happens is people go, oh my gosh, we have too much capitalism, as if capitalism is kind of on a sliding scale. And we need government to rein it in and regulate it. And the reason that corporations lobby for regulations, they love regulations because it means they end up with corporate oligopoly with groups of corporations that rule us that are able to comply with regulations with small mom and pop businesses that would compete able to. Like if you wanted to come up with an ethical oil and gas company, you couldn't compete with the existing oil and gas companies. You couldn't even get into business because until you could get into that scale that all of them are operating at, you wouldn't be able to compete and argue lawyers and other employees to comply with regulations. So they love that, and they love that they've got us tricked into the worse the disease gets, the more we call for more of the disease, which is not capitalism, but corporatism or the violence of government that breeds the violent breakdown, the kind of society where we're not able to meet people's needs to the greatest, the best of our ability because government stifles that economic development.
All right, I wanted to ask you. Now, I also saw a video you did too with Austin Peterson, who was the Libertarian nominee for president this last time. We'll also talk about your campaign too later on in the hour. But why voluntarism and not libertarianism?
Libertarianism is a great catch-all term for people who believe in freedom. Some people just have different understandings of that. To me, it's very simple. I would say that people who don't understand it this way haven't taken the time to develop a consistent philosophical understanding of the word freedom. And freedom is what you have when no one is forcing their will on you in any way. And I think that as a catch-all term, libertarianism is great because there are a lot of people who don't really understand that you cannot have government and freedom. Government and freedom in society at the same time are not compatible. If you have government, you have an institution based on violent control of the territory, based on the arbitrary rule of politicians, then you do not have freedom. If you have freedom, you do not have government. It's fundamentally incompatible. Now, this isn't to say that anything that is called government, that you can have non-profit government, you can have school government, all these things that are governing within a voluntary association don't fit the same technical definition of government when we think of the state or the big government, because you can't leave the state. You don't have a choice. You can't live and own property within the United States without having government force on you in some way, without paying taxes, without submitting to regulation, or at very least without succumbing and suffering under the kind of economic stifling that is a result of government. So, whereas, a lot of people call themselves libertarians, who I would say are really just libertarian leaning, and that's okay. I want to encourage them to use that term. It's become trendy. It's not cool to just be a conservative anymore. You got to be a libertarian leaning conservative, and a lot of libertarians will take issue with this and be like, hey, that's our word. That means something really specific. And I would say that's cool, but let's be encouraging, and let's be open to the idea that more and more people are coming into these ideas, even if they don't fully understand them, and then it's becoming trendy because the opposite of libertarian is authoritarian. Who wants to be an authoritarian? That's an a-hole.
So, Adam,
Right.
You bring up a very good point, and then I'm sure you get pushback all the time, and then status will say something like, well, what do they say besides roads? What do they say? Well, we could never. What's their pushback to living in a truly government-free realm? What is the pushback that you most often get?
I'll go straight to the jugular on this one. It's about militarism, and it's really sad. People say, who's going to keep us safe? And obviously it's terrorists. And what's really sad about that is that terrorism is caused by government. And I don't mean it's in a conspiratorial sense. I mean, according to government, according to the CIA and the constant blowback, the reason that terrorists who are upset with Americans is that the American military meddles in foreign countries. And the fact is that the American founders were right about this. They were against the idea of a standing army. And this is really important to understand that having a military actually makes us less safe in every conceivable way possible. I know it's counterintuitive. You got to open your mind for just a second, but it'll be obvious in a minute if you're really listening to me out on this one. So the myth that we've been fed is that wars are fought between countries, but the reality is that wars are conducted by governments using violence to expand their protection racket.
And just to back up what you're saying, Adam, we need to even completely pull back. The number one cause of death in the last 1,000 years is democide. Nobody killed more people than government. You could be a German government, an American government. It doesn't make a difference. The small amount of terrorists, which we're creating either directly or indirectly by sabotaging their land, and the small amount of murderers and rapists that are out there pale in comparison to the millions and millions and millions of people that have been murdered by their own government. And it doesn't make a difference if you're a socialist government or a dictator or what. They're still murdering their own citizens. So just to back that up. And another thing I wanted to ask you quickly is, there's a popular thing that's going on, and most people out there don't understand it. Can you reach out to the people that don't understand it? Why is taxation theft?
Well, that's just taking something that doesn't belong to you. So when it comes to taxation, there are only two options in terms of whether or not it is theft. Either it is not theft because government owns you and you are actually a slave. You are chattel property of government, which is a really sick, bad scenario. I don't think most people are willing to accept it. People on the street, when you put them on the spot, they'll go, I guess government owns us, and taxation is theft. Because it's easier almost to say, well, I'm a happy slave, than to say I'm getting ripped off. But either one is a pretty sick idea, because when you don't pay your taxes, what happens? Eventually, the company can take your stuff and lock you in a cage. That means it's theft. It's being taken from you against your will. Because I believe that you, as a free, beautiful, independent human being, own your stuff. That's the foundation of ethics and rights. And that is why we understand government as an unethical institution that is holding humanity back from the capitalist ideal of all peaceful interactions, where in everybody's best interest, as opposed to people being forced in our interactions with government, where we are forced to accept government monopoly services in order to pay for them.
So basically, if you don't give them the money by way of theft, they will lock you in a cage and just
They'll
leave
physically take it from you.
They will kidnap you. They will just kidnap you and take you for them not complying with their theft. That's basically what he's saying.
So honestly, Adam, too, the first time you came on to my show, I had already been flirting with anarchy itself and very limited government. I've always been a libertarian from the beginning, ever since Dr. Ron Paul, once I first heard him speak, almost over 10 years ago at this point too. And I've been flirting with this, but now to me personally, you've proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, amongst with other people too that I've been researching the last couple months, that I always said, well, maybe the government's there to protect our rights and keep it, but government is violence. Government is violence, and it can't get any more proven than that. So how do we start waking up, and how do we get to a more ideal society? How do we start to do that ourselves?
Yeah, well, this is why I'm running for president in 2020 on a platform of the peaceful orderly dissolution of the United States federal government. Now, there are lots of things that we can do to wake people up to spread this message, and ultimately, people will get the government they deserve. It's about changing the paradigm. People understand. This is why I wrote my book, Freedom, why it's available for in a digital format as possible. And there are a lot of things we can do to get bad cops fired, to get policy changed, to get laws changed, to get taxes reduced. But ultimately, the transition is going to come from us facing up to the problem of the solution that's as big as the problem itself. And localizing government is how we pull back from government without pulling the rug out from underneath anyone. We can reduce government in scope geographically without even reducing its role. Now that so many people have become dependent on it, it wouldn't be wise or prudent to say, well, we don't think welfare is right because it's based on immunizations like this and that, so let's just cut welfare. Let's cut corporate welfare first. Let's cut the military industrial complex welfare, so we cut individual welfare. And the way that we do that is by localizing government. So we eliminate the federal government in, like I said, a peaceful, orderly manner. We make states the highest form of government in the land. And when we do that, people are going to be so much happier and freer and more prosperous that they're going to want to keep going with that. They're going to want to eliminate the state government, get them down to the county, get them down to the cities, get them down to the communities where we can transition to the nonviolent systems that will render government entirely obsolete.
And we're already starting down that road. I'm sorry to interrupt. We're already starting down that road. We're seeing those trends in Generation Z, which is the generation after millennials, is the most libertarian or conservative that they have seen. We're going to be right back from break in just 1 second, because I have a couple more questions. Adam's not off the hook that easy. I have a couple other questions for him about how we can get there and how feasible this is. So you guys won't want to miss that. We're going to come back. Also, too, February 23rd, 990 WBOB, the Influencer Charity Cocktail Gala. Cucina Rustica in Cranston. Check that out. Check out the Facebook page, 990WBOB.com. Renegade Radio, Demand the Truth, Will Turbot, Kevin LaFraud, Adam Kokesh. We'll be right back.
For the last decade, Dan Bidani has fought for justice and informed the masses. He is the face of alternative news, only here on 990WBOB.com. Tune in weekly for all new live episodes and listen to past casts whenever you like. When the truth is not apparent, let the truth warrior come to the aid of justice. Catch Dan Bidani live here on 990WBOB. New England's premier electrical contractor is Econ Electrical Contractors, focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We'll do everything we can to meet your expectations. Licensed and insured in all of New England, Econ Electrical Contractors offers competitive rates for residential and commercial work. Call Econ Electrical Contractors, 401-297-1844. For service upgrades, call 401-297-1844. For pools, spas, Econ Pools and Girls, call 401-297-1844. Check out econelectrical.net, leading the trade in quality workmanship. Econ Electrical Contractors. No job is too big or too small. Today for a free estimate, 401-297-1844. Improve or upgrade the electrical work in your home or business safely, affordably, and as always, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Econ Electrical Contractors, 401-297-1844.
Green light. Hey, Greg. School's on. I'm getting hungry. Changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Berlin Street? Berlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. 990WBOB.com. Now your source for up-to-the-minute weather information. You can check out the current conditions, local long-term forecast, active watches, warnings, and advisories, local radar, also intra-school closings, delays, and cancellations. Local travel, you can check out the Rhode Island Department of Transportation's traffic radar. Check out national forecasts of major U.S. cities for all your travel needs. There are also links to the National Weather Service and NOAA. 990WBOB.com weather page is now your home for up-to-the-minute local weather information.
990.
All right, we are back here on Demand the Truth final segment. I'm your host, Will Turbot. We're interviewing Adam Kokesh, and Adam, Kev's got a question for you.
Yeah, Adam. So you're running, for the dissolution of the government. So how would we survive without the government? How would we do the roads? How would we do everything?
I mean, you say taxation is theft, but I mean, I'm going to give you the classic status argument. So is Kev. I mean, how are we going to pay for everything? How are we going to pay for all this stuff without government? Who's going to take care of us?
Adam, you there? I think we lost him again.
Adam's out there actually living freedom himself. And the interesting thing about it, when Adam came here to Rhode Island, he was kind enough to let us interview him, and he also, on his laptop, he's a really cool guy. He's also showing his plans for the Earthship that he's working on, certain things that are self-sustaining and not sustaining in the term that the United Nations would like to use that. But are you there with us, Adam?
Yeah, sorry.
Did you hear the question? Yeah, no problem, man. Did you hear the question?
Here's while I was on the phone here,
Oh man. Okay.
No
well, we're in
problem,
our final segment, man. So we'll let you go quick. But we were asking you right before the break. Well, taxation is theft, but you're gonna get the classic status pushback, which is, well, who's gonna pay for the roads and the education? How do we do that without that? What do you say to that?
Well, if there's nothing that we can do with violence, that we can't do better with non-violent cooperation. And the government is violent with the redistribution of resources. Then what we really need to do is figure out how to do those things without that violence. And that might be an argument for weaning ourselves off of these systems. And that's why I think local action is so important. We don't need these things to be centrally controlled. We don't need these functions in society to be dealt with vision of people coming together cooperatively and non-violently as possible. So all of those things would be far better without government.
So let me ask you another question. If we're living in an ideologically perfect, or not even perfect, but just, during the current human circumstances, and let's say the United States was no longer the United States, and it was just all unclaimed land, how does somebody in that type of society, how does somebody claim land? Who do they buy it off of? How does something like that work?
Well, it's unclaimed. You have the right to homestead, to mix your labor with the existing natural resources and create something of value. That's kind of cool what I'm trying to do here. Of course, I did have to buy the land first. But anyway, I kind of got it going. I got a bit of
Yeah, man. Now take care of it.
I really appreciate
Before you go, quickly just shout everybody out the information where they can donate and get your material.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. TheFreedomLine.com. TheFreedomLine.com. If you want to see the presidential platform, Kokesh, KOKESH, for not president.com.
All right, thank you very much, Adam. We'll be in touch with you, and good luck on your endeavors out there, and God bless. And that's what Adam is doing right now. Is actually he's out there fighting the fight. He's got his own homestead, he's got his own spot, and he's living freedom. And that's what my next question, Kevin and I's next question, was going to be: is how do we get there? And he answered the question by getting off the phone and doing exactly what you have to do. You have to get there. You have to get your own plot of land. Save up some money. Get it with your friends. And I'm gonna give you the same answers Adam would probably have given you, only in a way more sped up, uncontrollably passionate way. So basically, you start your own garden. You know what I'm saying? Then you get your own farm, and then you start building things. And then guess what? All of a sudden you got a whole bunch of eggs, or you got a whole bunch of Brussels sprouts or spinach, and then you can go trade them for people for other things, or you can sell them for silver, or for gold, or for Bitcoin.
Farmers market.
And guess what happens right then? You're automatically operating outside of the government system because you're not using the government currency, and the government is not taxing you on your labor. So what happens is, in order to break away from this government society, and now this is something that I've been dealing with for a long time, because I've been awake, and I use that term very loosely, and by awake I mean somebody that realized the majority of things that we were being told were misinformation, lies, and just not true whatsoever. And just like Adam, just like Kev, we're all on a different journey of understanding and waking up to certain things. And it's only in the last couple months that I've actually embraced the idea that government is itself violence. Well, why is government violence? Because you would normally, like if you didn't agree with something, you would be able to succeed and get away from that government and not be a part of it. But every single thing that the government does, it's backed up by force. So libertarians, anarchists, they talk about this thing called the non-aggression principle. And basically what it says, and there's different people that argue, different aspects and how it should be fought over, and you can hear libertarians and anarchists discuss that for days. But basically, the whole idea of anarchy, and anarchy just means no rulers, is that you don't need some large, megalithic, monolithic government structure to do everything with force.
And when most people hear anarchy, they think, craziness, violence.
Antifa, yeah.
There's a such thing as peaceful anarchy, guys. It can happen, and it's a possibility.
Well, like everything else, we've talked about the term conspiracy theory. And anybody that anytime anybody wants to dismiss you, they'll call you a conspiracy theorist or a racist or a homophobe or Islamophobe or anything like that. The term conspiracy, don't believe me, don't take my word for this, look it up. The term conspiracy theory was coined after the Kennedy assassination because they didn't want anybody seriously questioning that. And that's what
it's a derogatory term
for
a person that wants to give the truth.
Exactly. And they did the same thing with anarchy too. Anarchy is not a bad thing. All it means is without rulers. Government means from Latin guber, to control, and mente means mind, to control your mind. So would you rather have no rulers or somebody controlling your mind?
I for one would like to live without a ruler over my. I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and
this idea may sound foreign to Americans, but America started so we would all be our own kings, not to have the King of England overbearing us and imposing taxes and saying all this stuff. The stuff that the current conditions we are in. Disclaimer: I am not advocating violence in any sense of the way. I'm entirely peaceful, Gandhi dude. But what happened is, if you take a look of what's happening now and compare it to what caused the initial American Revolution to occur, I mean, they'd be like, the British
There would be like Badandi always says, there would be people hanging by trees tomorrow.
Yeah, and you know what? Badandi is not joking. We've lost that.
No, look what we did for the tea tax. They did a tax on tea, and we
went to war. And now the government spies on everything we do. They're trafficking children on record. Take a look at doing car. They're running drugs. They're creating all these drone strikes. They got the military-industrial complex all over the place.
Poisoning your water everywhere.
It's terrible. They got Florida in the water. But guess what? Kevin and I are here to bring you examples of continuing to fight against this, wake people up, and inspiring you guys to take action. That's what has to be done. Again, I'll plug February 23rd, 990 WBOB, the influential charity cocktail gala at Cucina Rustica in Cranston. And that's 555 Atwood Ave in Cranston. There's going to be politicians there, influencers from all over, all sorts of things, the media, and of course your favorite BOB personalities, myself, Kev, Clyde. And make sure you stay tuned for Rotundo. Rotundo's going to be coming up. Check out our Passcast online too. And our good friend Dan Badandi's, his show's tomorrow as well too. But you can check our episodes and all the other episodes online, 990wbob.com. Go to the Passcast. You can hear every single episode that we've done. Check out with our first interview with Kokesh. Check out our Fritz Springmeyer interviews, our Doc Marquis interviews, Joseph Scott Morgan interviews, all these people. There's some, I mean, honestly, if you go back and listen to the James Fetcher interview, this guy, I don't even know half the stuff he's talking about. I have to go back and listen to that. Anyways, we're running out of time here. As always, next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have Dabu7. He has over 250,000 YouTube subscribers, just a regular dude. We're gonna chalk it up with him. And also follow Kev at InfoWarrior4 God and myself at Will_Turbit on Twitter. And thank you guys very much for tuning in. And like our Facebook page, Demand the Truth Radio. Also our YouTube page, YouTube Demand the Truth. Check us out next Monday. We will see you then. Thank you very much. Renegade Radio, 990wbob.com. Demand the Truth.
Yeah.